That today is the 50th anniversary of the 1973 Yom Kippur War, in which nearly 3,000 Israelis lost their lives fighting to protect our people. It happened just 6 years after the Six-Day War, when the Jewish state nearly doubled its sovereign territory, and confidence was a little too high for our own good. It's interesting how different those two wars played out. In the early afternoon of Yom Kippur in 1973. It was our holiest day of the year, and everything was shut down, and the militaries of Egypt and Syria launched a coordinated attack on Israel on two fronts. Within a short period of time, the Egyptian forces established themselves on the eastern side of the Suez Canal, and the Syrians were overlooking the Kinneret, the Sea of Galilee. At the end of about 3 weeks of bloody battles, the IDF managed to stop the larger enemy forces, transfer the fighting to the enemy's territory, and defeat them. The war, which started by surprise, ended when the IDF threatened the capitals of Egypt and Syria and imposed a ceasefire on them. 50 years have passed. Today's IDF is a strong military with advanced capabilities, operating in all arenas against a variety of threats. Although many of us have complicated relationship with the Israeli government, or perhaps even the idea of nationalism, we cannot deny that more than half of our people live in the state of Israel, and that the future of humanity itself is heavily dependent on what happens there. So now let us pray for peace and safety for our people and for all of the inhabitants of the Holy Land. It's on page 289, the prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu, Avinu, Sheba Shamayim, Zor Yisrael v'goalo. Avinu, Avinu, Sheba Shamayim, Zor Yisrael v'goalo. Barech, Barech, es Medinat Yisrael, Reshit tzmichas geulateinu, Hagen alea be'avrat chazdecha, ufros alea sukat shlomecha. Avinu, Avinu, sheba shamayim, Zor Yisrael v'goalo. Okay, so now before we conclude the Torah service, we are going to do the Yizkor service. And so this is an opportunity to remember those that we love and to lift up their neshamas with our prayers. And the cantor and I will lead us through this Yizkor service. Some people have the custom to take a break at this time if they're not saying Yizkor for someone, and that's all right. If you need to take a little break now, then come on back. Don't miss the rabbi's sermon, and so maybe we'll send you somebody will let you know from the ushers, hopefully. And just one note to the cantor. So I think what we're going to do is Yizkor is on page 290.
Limnot yameinu, limnot yameinu, limnot yameinu kein hoda v'navi. ונביא לבב חוכמה. למנות ימינו, למנות ימינו, למנות ימינו כן, הודה ונביא לבב חוכמה.
You are my shepherd. I am content. This is from Psalm 23. You lead me to rest in sweet grasses, to lie down by the quiet waters. I am refreshed. You lead me down the right path, the path that unwinds in the pattern of your name. And even if I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not fear, for you are with me, comforting me with your rod and your staff, showing me each step. You prepare a table for me in the midst of my adversity and moisten my head with oil. Surely my cup is overflowing, and goodness and kindness will follow me all the days of my life. And in the long days beyond, I will always live in your house. Let's read responsively at the top of page 290. Adonai, what are human beings that you take account of them, mortals that you care for them? In the morning they flourish anew, in the evening they shrivel and die. Bottom of 290.
שיביתי אדוני לנגדי תמיד, כי מימיני בא למות, לכן שמח ליבי ויגל. כבודי אף בשרי ישכון לבטח.
The bottom in the English together. The deaths of those we now remember left holes in our lives, but we're grateful for the gift of their lives, and we're strengthened by the blessings that they've left us and the precious memories that comfort and sustain us as we recall them on this day. So now I want to do something special, a new tradition that Rabbi Jessica introduced, which is to have a few people who who are remembering someone who is especially dear to them, to share a memory about this person that they're remembering, and then afterwards, we'll each have a chance to say the names of the person and the relationship of the person that we're remembering, persons, to someone that is next to us. So that we're hearing those names from each other. But first I want to call up, or actually I'll come around to you if you're nearby, Judy Chalmer, Linda Siegel, and Judy Berger.
First, let's start with Judy Chalmer.
Judy Chalmer, yeah. Where are you, Judy?
Yay, hey, yay, 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 yay,
Come forward.
Today I'm remembering my father, Herman Weinheimer, whose Hebrew name was Tzvi, which means gazelle, and I like to think of him that way. He died more than 70 years ago when he was 46 years old and I was 11 months old. At the time of his death, he was the beloved director of Jewish Family Services in Buffalo, New York, where I grew up. And for some of you may remember at a yard site, I was recalling that he was so beloved that on the day of his funeral, the Jewish Family Services, the Jewish Center, and the Jewish Federation were all closed so everyone could go to his funeral. And there were many letters after his death that were written to my mother about what a loving person he was. He himself, his work at that time was settling refugees. This was right after World War II. And he himself was a refugee. He was taken from his home in Aschaffenburg, Germany, the morning after Kristallnacht to Dachau concentration camp, from which later he was evicted in Germany's first decision within its borders to make Germany Judenrein, which means rid of Jews. My mother always said that he escaped on the last possible train. But perhaps it's a little incorrect for me to say that I'm remembering my father, because, in fact, I have no memory of him, and have spent a good number of my more than 70 years yearning for a memory or a story that would have told me that he loved me. In part, that's why I have kept those letters. And it's my hope in sharing this story of my father and my particular experience of loss that for any of you who have in any way yearned for that which we cannot know after a loved one has died, that you will find your own yearning recognized today.
Thank you, that was so beautiful. Linda here.
I am also remembering my father today, Walter Siegel, and he died at age 55. I had just turned 18 when he died, and my father had got sick when I was 11, and for 7 years, my mother and I mostly cared for him ourselves at home. And because of that, it was my job to come home every day after high school and relieve the nurses who'd been there during the day. I developed a really amazing bond with my father that I probably wouldn't have had he been working and healthy throughout my adolescence. And so he and I had a very warped sense of humor together. We shared many, many things, and I feel blessed that I had that connection with him, to find the goodness that came out of that illness, to find the things that were good out of this tragic thing that happened in his life. My father worked at his family lumber yard, Siegel Lumber, in Chicago, and it gives me great comfort that I didn't realize this till many, many years after becoming more observant myself, but he died on Tu B'Shvat. And so it always makes me feel good, just like when Tu B'Shvat is coming, I remember that's my father's yahrzeit, and the connection between him and trees is a good one for me. So.
I'm in here in memory of our daughter and Jeremy's sister, Rebecca Gale, Rivka Gila Bat Ruven Yocheved. Becca was born on October 3rd, 1984, in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and lived until the age of 15 due to asthma. We became members of a club that no parent wants to be a part of. She was a talented and caring person and made friends easily. She loved to sing and had solo opportunities in public school and Hebrew school. And when she was at Camp Ramah, she even had sung the part of Ariel of the Little Mermaid in Hebrew. Once in high school, she sang in the choir jazz choir, sang in the choir for Kiss Me Kate and Fiddler on the Roof, which was the last show she was in. She cared about her friends and family, and they cared for her. When she died, we were surrounded by not just our Jewish community, but the school community. One friend interviewed various students and made a recording about how much they loved her. The choir actually sang at Becca's funeral, which was quite moving. And another friend came home from a song camp and wrote a song in her memory. Our friends came to our house often to sit just in her room. It helped in our healing. Most of all, Becca was a giving person, and we set up a scholarship in her memory at the high school and has been helping out students going into music ed, music production, and musical theater for 22 years. Her memory is for a blessing, and a part of her continues to be with all whose lives she touched.
We'll take the next few minutes in silence and to be in prayer, in memory, in connection with all of our beloveds who are no longer with us. And we'll come back together in a few minutes with a nigun, and then we'll share the names of who we're saying Kaddish for today. So if you want to, you can also make use of the Machzor on page 291, or you can just listen to your own heart as we remember.
Yizkor Elohim et nishmas.
we hear the names of our beloveds out loud, take a moment to turn to someone next to you and share the name of the person and your relationship, who you're remembering today.
My mother, Monique Shavuot, passed away.
In Israel? Was she in
In
Israel?
Israel, yes, yes, we made Aliyah together.
Yeah. Please rise and body or spirit. We're on page 293 for El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, המציא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה. במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים, ונשמות כל אלה שהזכרנו היום לברכה, שהלכו לעולמם בגן עדן, בגן עדן תהי מנוחתם. אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתירם בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם. אדוני, אדוני, הוא נחלתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבם. ונאמר
Amen. As I stand under these 6 lights from Yad Vashem Memorial Light commemorating the 6 million Jewish martyrs, men, women, and children who were murdered in the Shoah, may they rest in paradise. And now let's turn to page 293 at the left and read together the translation for this prayer, El Mali Rachamim, that the souls of our beloved people will be in the Garden of Eden under the wings, the sheltering wings of Shekhinah. Together, exalted, compassionate God, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, whose radiance is like the heavens, to the souls of all those who we have recalled today. May their memory be a blessing, and may they rest in paradise. Master of mercy, may they find eternal shelter beneath your sheltering wings, and may their souls be bound up in the bond of life. Adonai is their portion. May they rest in peace, and let us say, Amen.
my peace is tied by a thread to yours, and the beloved holidays and glorious seasons of the year with a wealth of fragrances, flowers, fruit, leaves, and winds, the fog and the rain, the sudden snow and the dew are suspended on a thread of longing. I and you and the Sabbath, I and you and our lives in the last incarnation, I and you and the lie and the fear and the breaches, I and you and the creator of the heavens that have no shore, I and you and the riddle, I and you and death. Zelda.
Psalm 23 on 293 at the bottom.
Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsa, b'not Hashem yarbitzeni, amen menuchot nachaleni, nafshi
ישובב, נפשי ישובב, ינחני למעגלי צדק, למען שמו.
גם
כי אינך נגד צמוות, לא אירא, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך, שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן, תערוך לפני שולחן, תערוך לפני שולחן, נגד צורריי. דשנת לשמן ראשי, דשנת לשמן ראשי, דשנת לשמן ראשי, כוסי לוויה. טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. We recite Kaddish Yatom. Kaddish Yatom, which is usually translated as mourner's Kaddish, but it literally means orphan's Kaddish. So for those of us who are remembering parents, or for anyone that we are remembering, we use these words of Kaddish to elevate their souls, their neshamas, as if they were saying these words with us, as if they were standing around us and saying the Kaddish with us. On 294. Yizkadal v'yizkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra kirusei v'yamlich malchusei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'bizman karev v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'le'amei al-maya. Yisparach v'yishtabach v'yispa'ar v'yisramam v'yisnaseh. V'yishadar, v'yis'aleh, v'yis'alal, shemei d'kudesha b'richu. Le'ela, le'ela, min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Ta'amiran bi'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Ose shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Amen.
May their memories be a blessing.